On today's show, we will discuss soaking syrups.
Welcome to Baking Radio. Learn the art and science of baking with author, educator, and award-winning chef, Gail. Whether you've been baking your whole life or you're brand new to the world of baking and you're looking to build your confidence and learn new skills in the kitchen, you're in the right place. This is Baking Radio.
So on today's show, we will discuss soaking syrups, what they are, and how to use them in many baked goods. I call them the baker's best friend. First of all, what is a soaking syrup? A soaking syrup is really just a sweetened, thin sauce that is brushed, drizzled, or poured over a cake layer or some pastry to give it moisture and prevent staling. And to punch up the flavor, that is a biggie. Typically, a soaking syrup is known as a sugar syrup or a simple syrup, and it is just that, simple. To make a simple syrup, just bring equal parts of sugar and water in a 1-to-1 ratio by volume or by weight to a boil until the sugar dissolves, and then you remove it from the heat. And this just takes like a minute or two. That's it. You allow it to cool, and then it can be stored for 2 to 4 weeks in the fridge. Syrups can also be made using a 2-to-1 ratio of sugar to water to create a slightly thicker and more viscous syrup. Making the syrup with just sugar and water would be enough if providing moisture to prevent staling was your objective. But we want some flavor, so soaking syrups should be used for flavoring in any number of ways. So the flavoring options are endless. So vanilla is a very simple and great way to give your syrup a nice light flavor. You can add the vanilla seeds of a vanilla bean or the extract. They both work really, really well. But think about adding things that are sort of off the beaten track, like herbs, thyme, rosemary, basil, or even lemon verbena. Many spices can also be added to a syrup, like cinnamon, nutmeg, and a host of others. Citrus juices, and even the zest from any citrus fruit can also be added to a soaking syrup. Just be sure to use just the colorful part of the skin, not that white pith, or your syrup could get bitter. Fruits can also be a great flavor component for syrups. Apple cider, for instance, makes a great sort of a sugar syrup on its own just by reducing it. You could also flavor a syrup with saffron or tea leaves, even the flavors from any type of tea bags that you might like. Earl Grey, it's one of my favorite flavors to use. Even coffee and espressos are super flavoring agents. Another addition to soaking syrups can most definitely include any type of alcohol: rum, whiskey, bourbon, brandy, Calvados, which is an apple-flavored liqueur, Saint Germain, which is an elderflower liqueur, almond, hazelnut liqueurs, or vodka, and any other flavored vodkas. The list can go on and on. Simple syrups are also used by bartenders as a sweetener and flavor enhancer for many alcoholic beverages. Bartenders also refer to these yummy syrups as bar syrups. Bet you didn't know that. A man named Henry Ramos created many drinks using simple syrups back in the 1880s in New Orleans. And I think some chefs were listening. So what can a baker soak in a syrup? Well, the best type of cakes that can hold up to being soaked are in the sponge cake category. Think of the genoise, a French sponge cake, or any other type of sponge cake. Because there are so many eggs in sponge cakes, the protein structure of the cake can be tough, and it tends to be dry as well. These type cakes literally are screaming to be soaked. They can stand up to it, and they will not fall apart. Also, sponge cakes tend to be bland, so soaking syrups can actually elevate their flavor profile. And the best question is, can you use a soaking syrup on a regular cake, like a pound cake or a bundt cake? Absolutely. I even have several recipes on my website and on my YouTube channel on videos of little mini buntts being soaked in syrups. And pound cakes, you can pour a syrup over them, even if they're not sponge cakes. You just have to be careful that you don't over-soak them. So how do you soak a cake? Exactly. There are a few methods to get the syrups into the cake. First, you could just use a pastry brush and brush the syrup onto the cake until it is soaked in, putting many layers of syrup on to get the cake soaked throughout. But not too much or the cake will be mushy and leach the syrup out. So if you see the syrup seeping out of your cake, you've gone too far. Second, you can use a squirt bottle to apply your syrup to your cake as well. Or third, you could use a small skewer and poke holes all over the cake and then spoon your syrup onto the cake. Think of something like a bundt cake. For smaller cakes like cupcakes or mini buntlets, you can just give them a bath or pour the syrup into a bowl and then it's everyone in the pool with some flipping going on to get those little cakes really soaked through. Other ways that soaking syrups can be used are as a base for sorbets and even ice creams. Look on my website, chefgailsokol.com, for my bourbon basil tequila sorbet. I even use it for an ice cream with the same flavors. So now you know why soaking syrups really are the baker's best friend. Simple, yet so amazing. So my advice to you, go soak a cake, bakers. On the next episode, we'll discuss fruitcakes. Thanks so much for joining me. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, my YouTube channel, and my website, chefgailsokol.com.